Hi, Tracy.
Hello. So great to see you all. So I am your host for today. Uh, so I am a last minute replacement. So I do have my list of questions here and we can start. Are we being recorded yet or?
Yep, we have a
Okay.
recording on.
Okay. All right. So why don't we begin? Because I know we are pressed for time. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's roundtable discussion on emerging technologies. We have a great panel set up for you today, and I'm really excited to have this conversation. So, before we begin, I'd like to do some introductions, and why don't we just do a roundtable of discussions? And let's start with Ken, if you want to introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
sure. Thank you, Tracy. So yeah, I currently am CEO of Distributed Apps AI. We focus on the generative AI's consulting and training service, especially on the security. Recently, we published the books on the generative AI and also Web3. Uh, I will, yeah, be enjoying the discussion with the esteemed panels. Thanks.
All right. Terry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Proto. I'm CEO at Virtual Reality Marketing. I've got a long background in games and digital marketing, advertising, creating 3D interactive 3D content for all kinds of brands and agencies for a while, and realized that one of the biggest challenge in our space is, getting started. And that's kind of what motivated us with our current mission of connecting AR, VR, metaverse creators with with enterprise clients and brands. And we have a lot of resources for this, and we're also an XR strategy consulting agency.
Okay. Uh, Dr. Gonzalez.
Oh, you are on mute.
Flashbacks to COVID meetings. There's always that one person. Hi, everyone. I'm Arturo. I'm a director at Nira Economic Consulting. I'm a PhD economist. I specialize in the economics of innovation. And in that way, I've worked at Meta before Nira, was at Visa, Federal Reserve, was formerly an academic. And my areas of interest are on the intellectual property, the value of how technology adds value to the economy, and how we all think about innovation and competitive space, how it impacts consumers, the economy. So talking about technology with this, as Ken said, this very esteemed group of people is it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. And last but not least, is it Dr. Yazi?
Yes, Yazigi. Hello, everyone. My name is Sausan Yazigi, and currently I am a senior practice leader at AWS. And my education is in data mining and AI. So this subject is very important for me. Before that, I had a long time history with retail and with financial services.
Excellent. Excellent. So we have a great panel for a wonderful discussion today. And as I mentioned before, my name is Tracy Raissis, and I am founder and CEO of Aquila Group, which is a local consulting group in Seattle. So let's start with our very first question. And I want to focus on the data economy and innovation. And in the context of this rapidly evolving data economy, how do you see data-driven innovation reshaping our business and societal landscapes? And who would like to start with that?
I will, if others don't mind.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I think where I'd like to do is talk about where value comes from and how value is produced in any economy, regardless of whether it's data or caveman economy. And that is that it's the human intellect, human drive, incentives that actually is responsible for the outcome. And so it's not really data that is, I think, the most interesting part. It's what people are doing with data. The same team in one company will have access to the same data, people's characteristics, and then another one, but it's the ability of the creativity of one team that might lead it to be more successful, find unique things that are more valuable in the marketplace to consumers. So it's not necessarily about the data. Data is important, of course, but it's what you do with it. It's the value add that comes from data that I think is the most exciting part.
I see everyone nodding their heads. Yes, a very, very good distinction. It's not just about the data, it's what you do with data. Anyone else want to follow up with any additional comments on that?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
add.
Go ahead, Sasa.
Okay, so what I would like to see is that we collect a lot of data, and these days the amount of data that we are collecting on a daily basis is huge. Yet the most important thing for the economy of the data is understanding the value of the data that we collect. Not every single piece of data has a value or has information that is important for us. So understanding what is important from our data and how we can use it is another aspect of utilizing the data correctly, and is another aspect of making monetization of the data.
Right.
That's a very good point. Understanding which data to use. It's not just the data or deciding what to do with the data, but being able to determine which data is the important data. Very, very good point.
Yeah, I would like to proceed in terms of the kind of the framework of thinking using what is called the DIKW. So the data itself, the raw data, and then you have the information age, which is trying to make it as just as information. Then we have the K, which is knowledge. Then W is wisdom. So we are now in kind of knowledge with generative AI. In knowledge phase, eventually we should be able to extract the wisdom from it. I agree with our panels. The data has different quality, and you do need make things like feature extraction, cleaning, all this to make sense of it and make it usable. If you look at the data as a kind of raw petroleum, and then you need to process it using refinery, right? So it's the refinery is a huge business. I would say if we put into the context of generative AI, data become even more important, right? It's using like I was in the Open AI the Dev Day talking with their data team, and they are working with super alignment, which is a part of their organization. And the key input for their super alignment team is the data. So those people, I met with them, they really focus on the high quality data. How do you get the data, right? It's not just a synthetic data generated by GPT-4. It's more like also the raw data. So all this has the the question is economic and society impact. I think it is like garbage in, garbage out. If your data is not good, it's not good, right, for the economic and the society values.
Right, Terry?
Yeah, I'll add something back to what Arturo was saying about creating value, and Sultan was saying about what kind of data in our world. There's a big data shift that's happening, and it's what type of data. And it's basically we are moving from a 2D world with a 3D world, and all of the immersive technologies of AR, VR, the metaverse are all about 3D, and there's this massive opportunity for everyone, like all type of enterprise, brands, retailers, anyone using digital twins to move to 3D, which comes with a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities. And it's a completely different set of data. It's a completely different set of skills. And it's also much more data. And again, like we're creating, like the amount of data that we're creating right now, it's exponential. So what's happening right now for us is very interesting, because you've got all of those new use cases and all of those ways of creating value. But at the same time, we need to educate everyone on how to use these data, because basically no one knows, or very few people.
So you bring up a very good point, the ways, right? So you have all this data and you have all these new ways to use that data. And we have a lot of rapidly evolving emerging technologies. We have blockchain, we have IoT, we have metaverse, quantum computing. Can each of you highlight some exciting areas in those space that stand out to you?
I can start.
Sure.
I mean, and say, oh my God, because that's kind of our mission. On our website, we have what we believe is the largest library of AR, VR, metaverse case studies. We've got more than 750 case studies of all of the best use cases that have been created by several companies over the last few years in every single business vertical. And literally, oh my God, like one of the things I like to say is that there's an app for that. It's, it's kind of like, for XR technologies, it's kind of like the iPhones. Name your vertical, name your industry, and there's going to be a use case. There's going to be a use case for this. And that's part of the challenge, is that those technologies are so versatile and can be adapted to so very many things that it's very difficult for people to wrap their head around it. And one of the challenges in our world is education, explaining to people, hey, if you're in banking, if you're in aeronautics, if you're in real estate, those are the use cases that are relevant to you. But I think, from our perspective, we feel, and then I say we, me, myself, the people in my company, our clients, the people we work with, insanely fortunate to be living in this era where our number one problem is to keep track of all of the insane game-changing applications of those technologies.
Yeah, if I can chime in, I gave a
Sure.
presentation to the World Trade Organization a couple of weeks ago on the implications of XR, AR, VR, and artificial intelligence on trade. And one of the things that I tried to get across was the need of co-inventions that are going to be uniting all of these separate use cases at this moment. Right? If you think about how immersive tech has been around, or the use of immersive tech has been around since I can remember when I was in graduate school in the early 90s, with video games like Doom. For those of you who might remember, that was, to me, that was the first true immersive game. Right? It was 3D. It was actually different, but the aspect of AR VR that is, I think, unique is that it takes us away from the two dimensions that we have now, whether it's typing in, right? That's the input, and then the visual, and then the sound. So with AR VR, and when I was at Metaverse, at Meta, the Metaverse was the way that was being expressed. It was this immersive combination of all the three things. The input was different. It was no longer, you're not relying on a mouse, a touchpad, and a key. The video, and then the audio. And it was amazing how those three things were synced. Syncing the audio with the video, and then making sure the feedback was live just for the one individual, and then making sure that was occurring for the other person on the other side is an amazingly complex thing to do, especially when they happen to be in France, for example. And so the value of all that is going to be that it's going to create more of a trusted relationship when you're experiencing that. It's going to create more opportunities that are now being limited to this two-dimensional component, but also the persistent. The fact that you'll be able to take this that is occurring now, and then be able to transport it to your other device and walk with it, and be outside, go to your car, go for a walk around the park, and still be able to engage with the other person as if you had not moved. That part of the technology is something that we're not even able to realize at this point. And when we start doing that, that's when some of the use cases are going to be unified.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift in not just how we use the data, but how we interact with our world around us. So very good point. Um,
And actually, one thing to add to this is talking about generative AI right now and talking about the artificial intelligence and where it is going to take us. This is very important to talk about how we are going to use the data, and a concept of ethical artificial intelligence have been coming. What does it mean if I have all that data and if I can generate something from this data? Where is the ethics? Where we can stop? What is considered right? What is considered wrong? Where is our limit, and what are the line that we should not pass? So this is very important when we are talking about artificial intelligence and generative AI and the amount of data that we have and what we can do with it. So now we have the data, we have the information, we have the knowledge, we have the wisdom, and we have all that. What we can do with it, we have the tools to do something, but where is our limit, and what is the ceiling that we should not go beyond? Defining these rules are, I believe, are the challenges for the future, and is what's going to be very interesting for us. And that's where we need to put a lot of focus, and that's where security is going to be one of the aspects, but also law and also privacy laws are going to be much stronger, and they need to start defining these rules toward the generative AI and toward the artificial intelligence in general.
Yeah, I agree with you. Governance, risk, and compliance professionals are going to have an interesting challenge going forward, because it's not just what the laws say. It's, to your point, the responsible innovation and the responsible AI aspect of it, which is not necessarily codified in law. And then what is responsible, what is ethical, can be kind of a vague concept depending on the cultural aspects of various countries. So that's definitely a big conversation going forward.
Yeah,
Ken?
if I can add maybe 2 or 3 more points to what have been said. I think currently the most transformative technology is generative AI and Web3. AI VR has been have a wave. I think it will be also enabled and amplified by generative AI. If you can generate individual content in the AR VR environment, that could potentially make it more usable. And also to the point of the security and the responsible innovation. Yeah, currently actually we are writing a book. It's almost done. We will submit the book manuscript to Springer the end of this month. We are in crunch mode. It's about the generative AI security, theories, and practice. Touch upon all this aspect as well. So I don't want to really delve so deep into each aspect of it, but the key thing to know that that's it's a international effort. Like even the day before yesterday, I think it's November 17th. The U.S. AI Safety Institute, which is a part of the NIST, organized a workshop. So I attended there. There's a lot of interesting comments and discussion. They have 4 different working groups. So it's exciting. And also OWASP or OWASP has the top 10. I'm one of the co-authors for the top 10 security vulnerabilities with the large language model. And recently the CSA, the Cloud Security Alliance, which I am part of it as a VP of research, it has also 4 different working groups. Also, I'm chair the AI organization responsibility group as well. So yes, this is all exciting things happen, but it's important. Yeah, I really echo Sasha's point that we need to make sure the security, privacy, and ethics transparency, accountability side of the generative AI.
So the concept of security and privacy comes up a lot in the financial services industry. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of focus on what the future of payments looks like. And you see a lot of stuff out in the news, regarding Bitcoin, digital assets, central bank digital currency. All of this is in the news. So can anyone start a conversation about the future of payments, and with digital transformations reshaping financial transactions? What does payment technology look like in the future, and how's it going to change things, especially in terms of security, privacy, and user experience? Who wants to start off?
I'll raise my hand.
Okay.
What's interesting is that there's hype, of course, and then there's the reality, and what actually matters. In payments, one of the things that I think is always left out of the conversation is this notion of economies of scale. And to think about an application of that concept is the multiplier effect, velocity of money. The reason money is valuable to the economy, it's not because it's a utility, it's not because it allows me to buy with $100 what I need without having to do barter. It's the velocity component that cannot be derived necessarily at this point from some of the technology. Bitcoin cannot be scaled as a technology. It's very difficult to scale it, so you can't get economies of scale benefit from it. There's the issue of the anonymity or the lack of anonymity. And the decentralization component is also another aspect that I think is hyped, but doesn't really provide much economic value. And so where I'm seeing some of the exciting development, for example, are where the lessons or the benefit of money today is being digitalized. I'm seeing some of that, not necessarily with CBDC, but in some of the commercial components where the last mile is settlement. Everything we can all do well. We can do everything well except settlement. And every app that comes out seems to do everything well except settlement. And once we have figured out settlement, then I think that's going to be the point at which transformation is occurring. There's an organization called the Regulated Liability Network that I think is one of the most exciting organizations that is developing a path forward about how to put all these things together in a permissioned ledger, instantaneous settlement using a retail CBDC. Currently, they're using the US dollar as the currency, but it doesn't have to be only the US dollar. And it involves 16 or so organizations in England, the United States, Europe. It involved the New York Federal Reserve. It involved, I believe, the Bank of England. So it is an effort like that that I think is really pointing us in the right direction, as opposed to some of the current hype around Bitcoin and similar type of cryptocurrency.
Who wants to follow up?
So I may follow up on this. There is a basic or first principle thinking behind the payment. It's or also the remittance, right? It's that everyone, once they earn the money, they have the freedom to expand everywhere without a huge cost. That's kind of basic first principle thinking is break, right? Because of the settlement layer, which Arturo has indicated. You may see as the real-time payment with some FedNow or some of the SWIFT system, but at the end, it's the settlement. It takes 24 hours to 72 hours. And blockchain is trying to resolve that problem, there's quite a lot of the effort, but it's only in the small scale. Even the JP Morgan with JPM coin currently has like about $4 billion per day settlement, right? It's good, but it's still not very large scale use. And there is also some of the potential issue with SWIFT as a single global settlement layer. It could potentially expel the financial or global financial trouble if the system is gone down somehow. Although it has never been done, but it has some security hacks before, right? And also some geopolitical reason, like if one country, especially US, trying to prohibit another country to use the system. That's why the BRICS is trying to have the new system, right? And also the Europe is also trying to say, okay, you have BRICS, you have SWIFT, maybe we should have our also own kind of settlement layer. Blockchain has the issue with that, right? Blockchain certainly has to solve this 5 problems before a real-time settlement layer can be used. One is the identity. You have to solve the identity issue. With decentralized identity, whatever the W3C is doing is laudable, but it cannot really solve the KYC AML issue. Security is still like, even with DeFi, there's so many smart contract has the vulnerabilities. And if it's bridge, lots of bridge contract has the vulnerabilities, right? And also you have to have a kind of, because it's a virtual, it's kind of on the blockchain layer, you have to have the Oracle layer. Chainlink has done a lot of work on this, but it's still not there yet, right, in terms of the scalability. So Oracle is a problem, and then you have to solve the performance. Like, Bitcoin is only 7 transactions or 5 transactions per second, using a lot of electricity. So it's certainly not the solution, right? And even Ethereum's layer 2 technology, there's lots of layer 2, even Coinbase has a base layer. It's still not there, I would say, with the zero knowledge proof, all this technology. It's not there yet, I would say, right? And then you will see a lot of blockchain. You have to have a cross-chain or interoperability. The solution is not there yet. So even if you're using Bridge for the cross-chain capabilities, you see a lot of hacks, right? From the Solana to Ethereum, from Ethereum to Polygon, all this smart contract has been hacked. So yeah, we have to solve this problem, and there's a lot of smart people trying to work on this. It has not been solved yet. And we actually talk about this in the Web3 security book, which will be published by Springer.
I have talking of scale. Quick data point to add from our perspective as well of metaverse is that the term metaverse is very complicated and very unpractical to use because so many things have been conflated with it. And part of it are the 3D virtual worlds, and another part of it is the blockchain and NFT and the Web3 technologies. And if you take the metaverse platforms and if you look at some of the most popular or least popular or some of those that have been overhyped in the last year and then realize that they really had trouble with their audience numbers, and you look at the numbers, what's really interesting is to look at Web3 platforms based on blockchain like Decentraland have really struggled to attract a big audience. And the platforms that everyone is talking about this year, like platforms like Roblox or Fortnite, are actually Web2 platforms where you have the 3D component and you have the virtual world component, but all of the payment systems are, good old use your Visa card. And but that's not getting in the way of them because Fortnite has more than 500 million registered users, and I believe Roblox has more than 200 million registered users. So talking of scale, what's interesting is that, and it's part of the complexities that a lot of people have to understand, is that while the idea of blockchain is very exciting for a lot of those things that you shared before, the execution and the ability to scale is still certainly lacking compared to existing technologies. Absolutely.
And talk about the globalization is a big challenge with this one, how you're going to be unifying the payment system, how you're going to be unifying the ideas, and how you're going to be dealing with that at that scale. So globalization itself is a big deal, and understanding banking system, working for the Federal Reserve for 8.5 years. So understanding how complex it is to have a Federal Reserve system and to have a payment system there. Now we are going to be talking about it at the global level with electronics and traceability. And as you mentioned, privacy again and security, it's going to be a huge deal. It's going to happen, definitely, but when is the question? And what kind of challenges that these are the challenges that we know today. What are the challenges that we don't know? And what does hacking mean? And how we're going to be preventing that? And what kind of risk that we are bringing for the globe when there's a hacker, how to go over this problem. So there's a lot of things that needs to be resolved before we start talking about this global payment system.
There's a lot to tackle. Can we begin small?
Yeah.
I think my quixotic, is that a word? Quixotic and solo effort right now is to stop the use of the term smart contracts.
Yeah.
They're not smart and they're not contract. So the creator of smart contracts suggests instead that we use persistent scripts. Because that's what it is. It's just a script and it's persistent. So I think part of the culture is that the user, the end user, the adopter hears persistent script, here's smart contract, and like, oh, what the hell is that? I'm just going to stick with my Venmo, right, or my PayPal, because that's where we are, right? It's about the end user. It is not about the technology. The technology is first of all a utility. Right? It's to get something done, and then it's relative utility. I need technology to do something, but I can already do that with existing technology. In the U.S., that's why adoption of some technologies has been so slow, whereas in other countries, adoption of digital payments, contactless payments was so fast, and yet here we're slow. It's because the Federal Reserve is really good, and so our financial system is really good. And so what we have works really well. So someone comes up with a newfangled token. It's like, well, so what? It's great, interesting, it's fancy and sexy, but what I have works. Right? So it's that value proposition at the end of the day is going to win market share or not. And again, I want to get excited about tech. I love Gizmodo. I love Engadget. I love all these websites because it's fancy new tech that I love to see every day. But it's meh when it comes to like, well, I already have that, right? So the value proposition relative to what we have today has to be compelling for users to switch. And that's why Web 3.0 is at the end of the day going to be nothing unless the content is superior in the value proposition around privacy. And what does privacy mean in Europe? What does it mean in Asia? What does it mean in the United States? Yes. All of these, what does ethics mean in one country versus the other? And in some countries, newspapers can publish gory pictures, photos of blood of decapitated people, and that's acceptable, right? How is AI going to deal with that when it presents that image to a country that it doesn't? Well, it's not acceptable, right? It's ethical one over here, but not over there. So all of these technology issues need to be resolved, but let's just start with the use case to the consumer as step one.
And you bring up
to consumers.
Yeah. And you bring up a very good point, which brings me to the next question. So it's a great transition. Thank you. Artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is in the news quite a lot lately, partially for the reason you just cited. So how do you envision AI in this evolving space and its capability to process and interpret data? And what ethical considerations should we be mindful of? And you had just mentioned a few. Do you want to just continue on that note? And then
Yeah,
we'll go to the rest of the panel.
and I guess I'll stick to my swim lane, which is about the economics of AI. And just again, I want to set the landscape. What AI does, it reduces the cost of prediction, period. So it takes information and runs it through some black box algorithm to derive a prediction, right? Whether that prediction is a probability of an X happening or the probability that this is a dog, it's still a probability, which means that the probability is never going to be 100%, right? Any distribution of probability always has it between 0 and 1. And with probability, there's a concept of type 1 error, of the dog being a cat, getting it wrong, and then type 2 error, where you're giving the outcome that you actually don't want, right? Like sending an innocent man to prison, right? Even when they're found guilty. And so in AI, this concept of type 2 versus type 1 error is so important because prediction is now going to be the value that is going to be provided. It's scaled to a significant level. The distribution of data that is being fed into the training needs to be representative of the outcome to be. If you want to, in the case of medical experiments, for example, you want to make sure you have the right distribution of all population groups, all genders. And then, of course, it's going to be who owns the data that was used in the training, and whose data is being excluded or not part of the training. So all of these things are fundamental to how AI functions, and we haven't even yet gotten to the output. Who's going to own the output? Is anyone capable of patenting or owning and therefore distributing and marketing, benefiting from what they just put into the generative AI prompt?
Do you see a difference between the probability and output and the decision?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Why do we care about probability? Because when you think about a strategy and an implementation, first thing you've got to do is figure out what is the risk, what is the known and unknown, to be able to make a judgment call. And that part, that prediction that is handled by AI, frees up humans to focus more on decision making, to hopefully take more stock of the information that has been provided. They haven't spent a lot of time doing the information, someone else has done that, the AI, and therefore you can be more thoughtful. Think about the ethical implications of what your steps are. Think whether the information given to you is in fact correct or not.
Yeah. I think one thing that's good about AI is that it is a continuous learning. So yes, there are false positive, false negative outcome and probabilities, and the human intervention is required in some cases to make the decision. But based on the decision that the human make, that system is continuously learning. So after a while, it will take some time in order for the system to understand exactly what the human decision is going to be. But after certain number of errors and certain number of correction, the AI will be able to make the decision based on what they have learned from previous behavior of the human interaction. Like, okay, you said this is a dog, but it is a cat, or the opposite, and that's based on ABC. So next time, every time the AI is going to be making that decision, it will be realizing that there was a correction happen, and that correction due to these errors, and it will correct itself. It will be a while, but at the end of the day, I would see that AI would be able to make the right decision. It will not make it 100%, but a human also cannot make 100% decision correctly. So the way it is going right now, and the generative AI is taking it to the next level. It is taking it to the decision making, and it's taking it to the creation and innovation on behalf of human, by understanding how human think and what is the right way to do work. They are able to write poetry, they are able, generative AI, to write an article, so they are able to understand and to draw, so they are able to think about how you think and take you to the next level by understanding your reaction and analyzing how did you react to a certain probability and to a certain and what was the decision for that. So I believe that little by little, it will be able to make the right decisions as good as a human can do, and that's the problem, and that's the danger. Actually, it's happening.
Well,
At least there is some emotion happening with people's decision, and AI will have no emotions there, but by little it will be there, and it's going to be very tough if we don't have all the guards around it.
I'll give you in our world, so AI has massive influence on XR technology. The talk of the summer was AI accelerates XR, and you've got so many use cases. And again, it's all about the use cases. And you've got great use cases. You can create 3D digital humans that are connected to a GPT system. And now you're talking to someone that looks photorealistic and is smart. Or you can, Ken was talking about generating 3D landscapes. And there's been this interesting case this summer that I'm sure everyone has followed. It was the Hollywood actor strike, the writer strike and the actor strike.
Yes.
And great case of talking about AI use cases, innovative use cases, ethics, and privacy. So for instance, if you're a voice actor, you already have tons of problems of people who discover that, well, someone has trained an AI model and is using their voice. And, if you're a famous actor and your person, your likeness, your voice, your face, how you look is your business and how you make money. And all of a sudden you realize that anyone can grab a bunch of data, off of any movie you did and use that to train a model and be using your voice. So I think that was a case for audiobooks where some actor realized that this company has been, using their voice without their
permission.
Their permission to create entire audiobooks. If you're an actor, the part of the challenge with the studios was that studios were offering actors $200 to be scanned once and have the perfect 3D representation of a person and be able to use that infinitely without any kind of other payments or royalties and without the person's consent in any way, shape, or form they like. The applications are immense, and this is today. It's really impressive how all of those issues we're talking about are not in the future. In this case, it's actually yesterday because it's already been settled in court.
And actually, will take us to another subject that is very important, I believe, for all of us, is that what are the jobs for the future? Which jobs are going to be completely replaced by AI, and which jobs are going to stay for everyone to learn and require human interaction?
Yeah, actually, before we dive into next topic, I would add, I think you guys all have very good comments. Let me add a few observations here. In the future, all the workflow will be redesigned by generative AI. Like the current workflow process has lots of manual steps. Take an example like loan proof, right? If you apply for a mortgage, there's a process. There's lots of manual steps. How much of this step can be automated? Can using generative AI to make some of the decision? still there is maybe some decision has to be made by the human in the loop. So this is something I think is well happening, and in terms of the how, like we're talking about AIGC, AI generated content. I think it's too narrow. It should be really AI generated decision or AI generated transaction, AI generated 3D environment, virtual, AI generated metaverse, or AI generated NFT. But how can we make sure that's ethical, right? And this is a long term, like, but it has to be. We have to make sure that we have this ethical use. The reason why Jeff Hinton, Elon Musk, even Ilya, afraid of in terms of existential risk of AI is precisely what the source has said. AI has self-learning, and with a large scale of computing and also the data, it can exponentially learn fast than human being. And if their worldview is self-serving for their own existence, that could be existential risk, right? That's why OpenAI has super alignment, ask the AI to love human being. But still, what kind of alignment, right? You can align with one group and maybe that's a human, and disalign with another human, then it can be misused. So this is a ongoing kind of effort in terms of there's a lot of institutions working on that. I think all of panel list has made a very good point, but we also will see the global kind of effort on it, right? The UK has AI summit, and Biden has executive orders for the AI safety. And I'm very pleased to see even US and China has some of kind of agreement in terms of do not use AI for in the conflict, right? So those are the good thing. There will be some bilateral, unilateral, even the UN has the AI like a kind of advisory board. So there is effort on this. I think this all going to the right direction. And the recent debacle with OpenAI, with Sam Altman get fired, go to Microsoft, and we come back again with OpenAI. I think even though the interim new CEO say it's not about safety, but I think safety is one of the main reason or argument in between Sam Altman and the board. So yeah, I think we will see. It's exciting. I want to say, right? So yeah, now maybe we can go to next topics.
Yep, it is exciting times, and this isn't the first time we've seen technology changing the job market. Telephone operators, switchboard operators, those jobs are extinct. Elevator operators are extinct. Gas station attendants. I think there's only one state left in the United States that has gas station attendants. So this is not a new theme of jobs being replaced. It's just in another technology in a new way. We briefly touched upon some jobs that were impacted: governance, risk, and compliance professionals having to focus more on the ethics and responsibility aspect of it. We've talked about the Screen Actors Guild, the writers. So how do you anticipate the job market changing with what's going on now? Who wants to start?
I can start. I believe that there are going to be difference, and as you mentioned, this is not the first time that this happened in the history. But the way I see it is that we need more engineers to do more of AI, and this job will not be limiting. So even though with the generative AI, you still need somebody who's going to be able to write these codes, maintain the machines, and make sure that the machines are there. Security job and ethical jobs are going to be rising because that's where all the effort is going to be. So law enforcement and risk, that's going to be also getting more. We look at some operations right now. If we are talking about other careers, if we are talking about teachers, they're going to be e-learning, e-training, metaverse training. This is a big deal right now. XR training, it's happening. We look at the any job that requires people interaction today is going to be more of required as a machine of overseeing the machine. And the job that's going to be little by little going are the jobs that can be replaced by a machine, like we have seen how in factory how the machinery have replaced the people who are doing the machinery, and it's going to be the same way. So you're not going to be, in my opinion, number of teachers is going to be growing low. The number, it's going to be just the people who set the curriculum. The number of doctors who operate on small surgeries. Now the AI is operating, the machinery is operating. It's going to be watching over the surgery rather than operating it. So it's going to be impacting every single aspect. And to go over the list, it's going to take another few hours. It's just that we need to focus on the people who are going to be running these machines, providing value to these machines, maintaining the data behind these machines are going to be the big job community in the future, in my opinion.
Right. I'll give you some perspective on some of the things we see in our world. You were talking about XR training. I'll give you interesting data points from one XR company we're following, and it's what's impressive with AI is that the scale of change is unprecedented, both in the efficiencies that you get and also the size. You know, everyone's affected basically, and so this company taking their data was really impressive. Back in 2018, they would take 5 months to create one VR training module. And I won't go into the details of one, but let's just say that's one, you know, the same unit for everything. And through certain optimizations and having content editors and reusing data and everything, they've managed to scale down this few months to a few weeks, something like last year. And this year, they've managed to turn something like 2 weeks into 1 day and then into 30 minutes. And so the same content, the same units they were doing in 5 months, not so long ago, 2018, so 5 years ago, now they can do in like half an hour or an hour or something like this. So it's ridiculous and fantastic from the point of view of the leverage you now have to create amazing, sophisticated content way faster. But I take this example because the dramatic change of scale and efficiency and value creation you have, and all of the jobs in all of the chain obviously have been completely impacted. A lot of it is automated. That what I'm saying is that the scale and the width is so huge that it's very challenging, I think, for anyone to imagine the changes ahead of us.
I'll end here. Just add my, again, kind of what does an economist have to say. The most important part, as I see it, is what's going to happen to wages. And wages is pretty much determined by a simple equation. It's the price of the product sold times the marginal productivity of labor. And technology increases both the marginal productivity of labor, makes us more productive, which increases wages. But technology also introduces new products, which increases price. And at the end of the day, what a worker, family cares about are wages, the income they have. And so how is AI going to increase marginal productivity of a particular worker? Are there going to be cobots? Right, that's the term that I'm trying to use more in my daily conversations. Are there going to be cobots that helps workers be more productive? Do they have to learn skills to become more productive? Do they have to find another job to be more productive?
So, yeah, maybe I inject a little bit. If we look at the previous industrial revolution, the labor force replaced usually is low skill, low knowledge skill, right? With generative AI, what is replaced is actually the knowledge work and some of the creativity work. So there is something fundamental, like more from the economic and philosophical view, that what we need to do, like how we can educate our kids, what they should learn, right? There is a few things I think is still valid. If we educate our own kids, one is you still need the political thinking. You still need the discern from the right and the wrong, and also appreciate the kind of ethics or some beauties in the creative things that you still need, and also you still will have the some of the manual work may not be replaced by robot. The robot will be another wave. After generative AI, another huge wave will be the robot. But a majority of manual work will be replaced by the robot, but some may not. But I don't know which some will be, right? But another consequence is we may not have 5 days per week of work, maybe only 1 day. So what do we do with the rest of 4 days, or even like now another 2 days of week, right? So 6 days per week of the weekend. What we will do, right? That actually will generate a new economy. That new economy we don't know, right? But it's more like to the humanity. It's more good, like for self-discovery. Imagine if you don't have to work for life, right? If you really want to live for what you are actually interested in pursuing, that will unleash a lot of productivity, unleash a lot of creativity. So I think it's a good thing. Like people are afraid of every industrial revolution. People always afraid, okay, it will replace. Like if you have in UK, there's called the red flag law. Because of the manufacturing of the vehicle. And they said the vehicle cannot run faster than the horse carriage. You have to have the red flag in front of vehicle to run. And if it runs faster than the horse carriage, then you should not run. So eventually, UK did not really have the automotive industry at that time, right? And the US has it. US trying to stipulate the same law, but eventually they did not do, right? So this is the same thing, right? Because you're afraid of losing of the labor or some of the security concern, you're trying to stop it. It's not a good idea. That's why responsible innovation, it's good for the labor. It's also good for the future. Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
I believe this is going to happen whether we like it or not. So to be prepared for it is very important. And being prepared for it is by understanding what is the future going to take us to. So let's be prepared. Let's start thinking about it. Let's be ahead of the game and prepare the education system in order to take our kids to that level. Because it's going to happen today or tomorrow. There's no way that this is going to stop. I have never seen any revolution that started and stopped. Everything continues, and regardless. And every time we have a new revolution that takes some some jobs away, it brings more jobs in. So we'll see. Maybe we're going to start working 7 days a week. We don't know. Maybe 1 day a week, which will be great for the family. But 7 days a week, maybe that's the expectation. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
I
Except
completely agree with
economists,
you.
with the
Yeah.
the income effect and the wage effect. As your income rises, you want to work less. As your wage rises, you want to work more.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's different segments of society, right? If you think about less educated individuals, they care about wages because their income is very, very low, and they may need to work more, as has happened with the gig economy that has fostered part-time work along with gig economy work. So they end up working 60 hours a week. And then that causes family dysfunctions, family issues, the parents not being able to be there with their children. And that is yet a good thing, right? Because their income is higher, more financial security, but then on the family well-being side, psychological, it may not be good. And how do you balance those two things? Different people make different decisions. And as a society, that's where the voting and the policy making will decide what kind of society we end up having.
So I completely agree with both of you.
Yeah, I
Oh,
may
sorry,
add
go ahead.
two additional comments here. One is generative AI, I think, is the biggest equalizer in the human history. The reason why it's unleashed lots of productivity for even the people who are junior level of the work, like in terms of coding, right? They can code as fast as a senior developer because of the Copilot. So it's a great equalizer also for the company, for different organizations. They can bootstrap their business model with the AI assistant. There is currently what is called the agentic behavior, or the AI agent that using AutoGPT or AutoGenes by Microsoft, trying to automate some of the work. And some people think the future billion-dollar company maybe only have a handful of people, maybe less than 10 people, right? Because of a majority of work can be done by AI. So it's a great equalizer. Another thing is,
I think the best equalizer is probably going to be education, and always has been. When you look at why per capita GDP has been equalized across regions, it hasn't been any one technology. It hasn't been any one policy or culture. It has been education. Wherever education has been more accessible, it is the wellspring of everything else. After AI, there will be something new.
Excuse me, everyone. It's a really interesting discussion, but we are running over time and I'm expected for another meeting, so I will have to run. Thank you all for having me, and really a pleasure and an honor to be in such a great panel. And really sorry I have to go, but I do have to run, unfortunately.
Oh, understood. Thank you for joining.
He was your AI version of Terry.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
bye-bye. Yes.
So with that, yep, you can finish your thought, and then I'd like to just close it.
Right. Yeah. So one quick comments in terms of the education. Like one thing we should advise our kids is to learn the tool, right? But just not just using the tool, but it has a critical viewpoint. Say if it's correct, you still need to use it, but verify it. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. So all very good points, and the discussion around the impact on wage, that's an interesting societal impact nuance that I don't think I've heard mentioned anywhere else. We've heard many discussions around the impact on the jobs, meaning job losses, or having to upskill the job, but no one's ever really pointed out the impact on the actual wage aspect. And a very good point or comparison to the gig economy, where people do end up working more hours because they do see that immediate reward. So there's a very good point there. I also agree very much with the educational aspect of it. And, one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of educational institutions are actually banning the use of ChatGPT as an example. From the perspective of what we just spoke, it's better to educate them on how to use it in a responsible way rather than banning it. Because we're not going to stop the progress of innovation in that space. It will continue to permeate throughout society. People will use it as tools in their jobs. As Ken mentioned, I don't know if equalizer is the right term, but it will be used as a tool to increase efficiency and optimize your work time. So I absolutely agree with all of you. It's a fascinating discussion with a lot of complicating factors. So thank you all for this great discussion. We are over time. But I didn't want to stop the discussion because this was great and you all brought up some very good points. So with that, thank you all. Thank you to the audience for hanging in there with us, even though we were a little over time. And with this, I close the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.